Hey, welcome back to the review and breakdown of season 2, episode 5 of House of the Dragon.
It's this was a good episode. It's not like the best episode, but it's
No,
good.
but yeah, I mean,
It
it definitely was. Pieces are moving. The
Pieces
king
are
is
moving.
not really dead, but he's kind of dead,
Yeah.
and we all
I think
know.
that was the big question at the end of the last episode for a lot of people. Is the
Mhm,
king dead? What's going on with Aemond?
yeah.
And this episode seems to be taking action. They're
Well, Aemond at least is taking
I
action.
I'd
He's
say
taking
everybody's making pretty
everybody is,
decisive
and
decisions
he's
in this
taken over
one.
the Iron Throne.
Aemon's performance in this was solid.
Yeah.
Um, in the argument that I had with Joe on the live last Monday,
Mhm.
we said we're gonna see what's up with Aemond, and I don't think there's anything that necessarily confirms either of my or Joe's biases on what we were arguing about. But Aemond is definitely, if he's not being if he w if his actions in the battle weren't vengeful, he
Yeah.
is at the very least taking full advantage of them.
Well, this episode clearly showed us he wants the throne.
Mhm.
He is trying to, well, now he's on the throne. At least for now, he's kind of the
In a
king.
regency, yeah.
Yeah. And so he even like they were gonna give it back to Allison, and they're like, nope, he's gonna
I
get it.
so
And
I still maintain that there is more nuance to his character than simply wanting the throne. Because characters that
yeah.
want the throne sit on the throne.
Well,
Characters that want the throne make known that they want to be, and he's been silent and he's been waiting. That's not to say that he doesn't want it. I'm sure he wants it.
I think we could talk about this forever, but I think that yeah, there is more question of he maybe wants revenge for his brother, maybe he wants to prove people wrong, like right, wrong, because he's the
Yeah.
second, he's not the firstborn. He's got a lot on his shoulders that he wants to prove, and I think
I
getting the throne does
I
that a
almost
little bit.
wonder if there's something in him that is, I don't want to be Damon. I don't
Yeah,
want to be Damon who was passed over at every opportunity.
yeah,
And I want to make sure that I'm taking what I need to take. In similar fashion, everybody has sort of been making these decisions, Damon as well, of telling, I believe the Blackwoods
yeah.
to, you know, go take care of the Brackens.
Mhm. Damon's trying to do
Obviously,
his Damon thing,
yeah, obviously make
kind of
sure it's
sneak
not.
sneak under the someone else's banner and commit some treasons.
Yeah, that, like, his point is like, don't let it be, don't be doing it in our name.
But
But, they do. They do it. They raise Targaryen banners, and Daemon was giving them full leave. Commit atrocities, basically, is
Mhm.
what he's saying. Bring them to heel no matter what. But as the Blackwoods, not as the Targaryen, under the Targaryen flag. He's also making sure that Harrenhal is ready for people to be there, for
Mhm.
armies to gather. Um,
What do you think of to go off Damon a little bit? So they kind of set up at the beginning. They toted the dragon's head through the city streets, and
mhm.
it kind of, you and John Mark were saying as soon as we saw that, where you're like, shouldn't have done that, shouldn't have done it, showing the peasants that dragons are killable. They're not as powerful as you think. And it's
Mhm.
kind of making you not look at them like this god type thing, is what they said in the
Yeah.
episode.
So,
And
it's another decision. It's
mhm,
another so, a lot of what happens in this show is, in the previous episode, people make decisions,
mhm,
they take action, and then in the next episode, you have to deal with that action and then make a new decision.
yes.
This episode, they made a new decision, which is parade the head through the streets, which If
Mhm.
you're following the logic, kinda makes sense, right? They parade the child through the streets, and they got sympathy, right?
And
So
that kind of also helped him sneak the king back in on
yeah,
this cart and be kinda discreet about it.
but I think the decision was wrong here of bringing the dragon head in
Yeah.
because it's the dragons are a symbol of, um, kinda like Targaryen supremacy.
Mhm.
That the Targaryens it's almost a symbol of the Targaryens can't be killed in the same way that the dragons can't. So when you show that not only can a dragon be felled, but a Targaryen can be felled, that puts the people, the small folk, in the mindset of, "Oh, our Targaryen overlords," I believe as Daemon says later in the episode,
Yeah.
"are fallible and killable."
Yeah. What did you think of Allison's character? She was trying to push herself back in to be the
Mhm.
queen again. Didn't work out, and
No.
she's mad.
It
She's
made
mad.
sense.
I mean, why do you not think that she wants her son to be the I guess she wants it for herself and not her son? What is
So
she what's her purpose behind that, I guess?
it's it
What do you
I
think?
was having conversations with my friend about, the way that parents raise their kids and the way that, uh, as you grow older, trust in your children's decisions
Yeah.
becomes a reflection of your parenting, right? So
Mhm.
if it gets to the point where your kids are basically adults, but you don't trust them to do anything, you're sort of admitting that you don't trust the decisions you made as a parent. You don't trust the advice that you gave to your kids because you
Yeah.
don't trust them, even if they're good kids. This happens a lot in conservative, Christian communities
Uh-oh.
where you don't trust your kids to make their own decisions, but then it kinda comes down to, are do you trust your own parenting,
Yeah.
right? And in this case, she knows that her kids are not great kids.
Mhm.
She knows that they are ruthless. She knows that they're mean and bitter and messed up.
Yeah, and I also think somehow I think she also is putting it on herself, and it goes back to, like, a couple fold of when she talked to Rhaenyra in, like, 2 what was that, 2 episodes ago when she talked to Rhaenyra,
Mhm.
and she kind of is questioning now maybe that her kids weren't supposed to be the rulers, and
Yeah.
then also she grew up so much like, "Do my duty. I don't wanna do this, but do my duty,"
Mhm.
and just follow the rules, and now she's like, "My kids aren't following the rules, they're acting like crazy, and they're not really even supposed to be the rulers anyway,
Yeah.
so what are they doing?" And then she tells her son on the last episode, "Just do nothing.
Mhm.
Do your advisors, just do nothing." And now her kids, both of her sons are making big moves, not just like, you know, here and there, they're making big moves that are affecting a lot of
Well,
people.
this was the fault of Otto Hightower.
Yeah, her dad.
What his whole philosophy was, if I can get Viserys to marry my daughter, I
Mhm.
can kinda have sway, I can have control over who
Yeah,
inherits the throne next and potentially be able to keep the realm at peace.
yeah,
But now Otto is out and Alicent is, sort of being pushed aside. So that whole plan of we can sort of rule in place of our idiot kids,
yeah. And
right?
yeah,
That's sort of been overruled because the idiot kids are now coming into their own. They're not
yeah,
idiot kids anymore. They're adults who are making decisions. And Allison is coming to realize that in this
yeah,
world, um, it doesn't matter how many people you seduce or how many people you have on your side, they are going to go with the strategic advantage, and
yeah,
that's having a man in charge.
yeah,
And to that point, Aemond is a decisive man.
I think
He's
he's definitely better
strategic.
than his brother.
He's displayed a strategic mind. He's
Mhm.
displayed a confident, kinda in charge attitude. He's always
Yeah,
been
character.
quiet when he needs to be quiet, and waited and been patient, and he's got the biggest dragon, and I think that helps a little
Well,
bit.
big and big size doesn't, isn't
In this
everything.
in
It's
this
not
world,
everything.
I think the last episode proved that the size of your dragon matters a lot.
Well,
So
some would beg to differ. It's about,
and
taking action and knowing how to,
gotta
move what's
best use your
work
dragon.
with what you
Work
got.
with what
Work
you
with what
got,
you
no matter the size of your dragon. Uh,
Yeah.
the
Okay, let's
and
really quickly I wanna you wanna talk about Rhaenyra at all? A little bit before
yeah,
we
so she's trying to figure out how do I guide my council because they don't
Yeah,
wanna listen to me,
I'm a
and
woman. She's kinda dealing with the same thing Allison is dealing with
she is.
a little
She is.
bit, but she's the queen.
The difference is, yeah, she's supposed to be in charge. The issue is she's not making in charge person deci decisions.
No.
She is
She wants to get
floundering.
on her dragon and go do something.
Right. She's floundering. And
Yeah.
she's right, she's not raised with a sword in her hand. She wasn't raised with the tactics and strategies. And, the white worm, what's her name? Missaria?
Yeah.
She's like, well, then you need to use what you got,
Mhm.
basically. You got me,
I
and you got the people in King's Landing who are starving."
Yeah. I found it interesting, the line that she used, I can't remember the exact words, but she said, "I've kind of leaned on my husband for this too long," talking about, like, she used Damon as her kind of you know, Damon is the strategic, war guy, and she's kind of the opposite, so they kind of work together a
Mhm.
little bit, even though she has problems with Damon, she can never trust him. They kind of worked good in a
Yeah.
sense. But, last thing, and then we'll kinda close this off. They kinda teased some dragon riders coming up
Yeah.
at the end of this episode. Um, we've not read the books. Wyatt kind of has an idea of who he thinks that
Mhm.
be. They've kind of shown
They've hinted.
some
They've
bastards here
hinted.
and there that might be the riders, but
They've shown, Valerian's bastard.
Mhm.
Rhaenys makes a point of
Yeah, in the last episode.
saying something to him and telling her husband Corlys that, "You need to legitimize him. You're
Mhm.
concerned about your heir." And even Rhaena says to him, "I'm fire and blood. You need
Yeah.
sea and salt," or what is it? What did she say?
Yeah, yeah.
Salt and
Salt and
sea?
sea.
That's what you need. And his
Mhm.
his bastard is definitely that.
Yeah.
So, um, it's gonna have something to do with his bastards, claiming them and then, raising them up and legitimizing them, and then having them see if they can ride dragons. There's
Yeah.
gonna be that element as well because they need dragon riders.
They definitely do. And then we'll see what they do with the other eggs that they let go that are kind of a
Mhm.
foreshadowing
Well, they
into the
mentioned they
game.
mentioned, Vermithor,
Yeah.
which is um, the other big dragon.
Mhm.
The next biggest under Vhagar is Vermithor. So,
Yeah.
I'm wanting to see that one.
What would you give this episode 1 out of 10 really quickly as we're kinda closing? I'd say it
I
was a
would
solid
say
episode.
most of the episodes have landed on the 7 or 8 scale.
Yeah, I
Um,
would definitely agree.
this one, geez, I don't know.
I would give it an 8, maybe 7.5. I know you don't like half scores, but
Mm,
I'm only gonna bring it down a little bit just because there was a lot that happened in this
mm,
episode, a lot of moves being made by Damon, by
yeah.
Rhaenyra, by Alicent, by Aemond, by everybody. They had something
Yeah,
that they were
almost
doing.
every scene, something decisive happens. I think
Yeah.
the only one is kinda like a little bit of setup for Bela in,
Mhm.
uh, in the Eyrie. That's the only one where it's like, she says, "Well, we have dragons, that's what you wanted."
Mhm. Yeah, it was
and
a
the
little bit
lady there is
confusing to me because there was so much happening, but I
yeah,
knew that's Game of Thrones and that's House of the Dragon, so, um
everybody's doing something.
yeah, but overall, it was a good episode.
Mhm.
So thanks for joining us on this breakdown, kind of going through the episode of season 2, episode 5. So if you like this video, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and then we will see you next week with episode 6.